Yes, no, they know me by Lady Crump. So
Are we doing Chief Crump or Chief McCracken for the for the
Ah,
okay.
that's funny.
Okay, just want to make sure, ma'am. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us and share a little more about yourself and your experiences in the Air Force and this amazing work that you've been doing. My name's A1C Tejeda. I'm stationed here at Luke Air Force Base, my first duty station. So let's go ahead and get started. Tell us a little more about yourself and why did you join the Air Force, ma'am?
okay. Wow, that was 22 years ago that I joined the Air Force. So my why, I would have to say I was a 20-year-old college student, and I was still living at home with my mom and dad, and didn't really have a steady career path. I was going to school to get my associates in criminal justice. And one of the things that I wanted to be was a Virginia Beach police officer because my hometown is actually Virginia Beach, Virginia. And to join the police force, you had to be 21. So I figured go to school after high school and see where it took me. But at some point, I guess I had a wake up that I need to, how do I say it, grow up and be an adult, get out of my parents' house and start, living my life and figuring out who I wanted to be. So joining the Air Force happened to come by when I took one of my friends to the recruiters, and he was actually getting ready to leave to go to basic training. And the recruiter just asked me, what are you doing with your life? And I was like, going to college, and I work at I think at the time I was working at Taco Bell and Arby's, and just the typical jobs that you have when you're younger. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I told him, I wanted to be a police officer. And that's when he said, well, we got this job called security forces. So let me show you this video, and you let me know if you're interested, and watch the video. And then I said, you know what? My dad did. He was almost at 30 years of service at the time in the Marine Corps. So I already knew what it was like, living in different places, living overseas. And I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and do this. Do a couple years and then come back out and come back home and join the police force. So that was my plan. And 22 years later, I'm still in the Air Force. So so it definitely has been a great experience. Like I said, I came in as a defender and did my first 6 years. And right before I was about to separate, I applied to retrain, and they offered me paralegal. And I said, you know what? I like that. That's criminal justice too. Let me see where it's going to take us. And I ended up, doing my extension, becoming a paralegal, and now here I am.
Wow. It's interesting how initially there are like certain plans that we may have, right? And along that journey, things can change, right? And so
Yes.
seeing you reflect right now, I see that you're like, I didn't see this happening, but you're glad it did, right?
Yes.
Um, you said that you were getting ready to separate, but then you applied to retrain. So what influenced you to stay or to cross train into the paralegal field?
Yeah. So it was about 2015, and I had just got to MacDill Air Force Base. So as a defender, I started off in, wonderful Minot, North Dakota, and then I went to Osan Air Base, and then I ended up at MacDill. But I only had about 15 months of service left on my enlistment. And when I got there, I already had a plan. I said, I'm going to apply to Old Dominion University, finish out my criminal justice degree. And my plan was to separate, get into their ROTC program, and then come back in as an officer. However, when I got offered the opportunity to retrain, for me, it was like, okay, maybe I can stay in a little bit longer to take more classes and, get paid at the same time. So I'm not just out of the service using my GI Bill because we didn't have the post 9/11 yet, and still do that. And then think about, okay, what am I going to do with my life? And 23 months of an extension, yeah, that sounded like a pretty good deal. Learn a different career field and see where it took me. So, but as far as like inspiring me to stay, there wasn't really anything inspiring me to stay. It was just more of I was looking at, what are the benefits of me staying in for an additional 23 months, and the Air Force, of course, giving you those technical skills, teaching you a new job, and then you get paid to learn that, and finishing, a little bit more school. So that's kind of why I decided to stay in and do the retraining to see where that took me. And paralegal, I mean, that's pretty awesome because when I joined the Air Force, you had to be a retrainee to get into that. We didn't have pipeliners coming in 2000. So for me, it was, I already knew that if I was going to get into that career, to retrain.
It seems like we both cross-trained into paralegal from MacDill Air Force Base. Well, that's interesting. That's where it happened for both of us. But I'm curious as to what you thought about the security forces career field. Like when you went in, so first thing would be, did you come in and is that what you asked for? And then second, what was it about it? Was it what you expected? And what made you want to leave that behind?
Yeah, no, I came in straight defender. Like there was no open general, you get selected for this, because I wanted to be a police officer. Mm-hmm. So I wanted a guaranteed job, and I came in straight defender, and I loved it. Like, I'm not going to lie. Tech school was so much fun. Just all the training that we get. You get to shoot a bunch of guns. You get to throw grenades. We got to blow stuff up. I even shot shit. I think they have that anymore. But, all the stuff you get to do were things that I really enjoyed doing. The difference, though, is that once you get into the career field, you may either go the security route where you're like the missile field, which is where I ended up, or you may go to a base like MacDill where you get to do a little bit more law enforcement. And for me, going to Minot and doing security in the missile field was not what I expected. So it was a little bit of a bummer that I wasn't doing law enforcement, but I made the most of it. I met some really good people. I learned, how to, be a defender, especially in a career field that is very male dominated. And you may be, the minority on your flight. At one point, I think it was me and like one other female that was flight as A1Cs, and everyone else was a guy. So you learn how to hold your own, and it was something that I really enjoyed doing. And, retraining out of the career field was a good option for me, just because I was looking at my career path and what I wanted to do with all the skills that the Air Force was giving me.
Definitely. So you said your first base was Minot, ma'am, or MacDill? I was confused.
No, it was Minot.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, good old Minot Air Force Base. Only the best come north is what it says on the gate up there. At least I still think it says it on the gate.
Yeah, yeah. I went there in December. This December, we went for a 2-day or 1-day visit to the office, and December. So right, that's in the middle of there's snow everywhere and super cold. It's minus like 14 degrees.
And imagine having to go out and get all your gear on to respond to an alarm, and you have big snow boots on and a big jacket on, and you're trying to figure out why the alarm is going with the mistake. So that was 3 years of my life, and why not?
No, for sure. That's interesting.
Now, ma'am, when you retrained into the paralegal field, how long were you in the field? Because I see you did some, you have some first sergeant experience, right?
Yes.
How long were you in the paralegal field before you became a sheriff?
So I entered the field in 2006, and I got the wonderful blessing to be a first sergeant in 2017. So I spent a lot of time in the field before I was able to go and be a first sergeant. I was also a defense paralegal for a little bit, so I had that opportunity, and yeah, different legal offices. I started off at Seymour Johnson, then I was a defense paralegal there for about 3 years, and then I went to Langley Air Force Base, and I got the opportunity to do my first deployment, because sometimes that's rare for paralegals. I went to Afghanistan with the Army. I got to do Army military justice for 6 months, so that was pretty cool. And then after that, went to Air Combat Command, so I got to work in the MAGCOM office, and then got selected to go to Kadena, where I met Senior Perez, and he was my NCOIC of Justice there when I was the NCOIC of the Legal Office.
Nice. And when you became a first sergeant, what was that experience like, ma'am? Because is that where your life coach work also started?
So not in the beginning. First of all, being a first sergeant was on my list. Like, as soon as I made master sergeant, I knew that that was something that I really wanted to do, was go into the field and learn how to really take care of our airmen. And it's something I did enjoy as a defense paralegal. You kind of get a little taste of it where you're helping clients, and even though they're going through some, pretty messed up stuff, you're still helping them through something. And that part of it, it does feel good. So for me, being a first sergeant, just, it came natural, because I wanted to see people live their best life and do really well and be successful in anything, irregardless of, what career field or background they had. So it's just something that I always wanted, and I had some really good first sergeants who took care of me when I was a younger airman and showed me a lot of compassion and empathy. And when I was going through some things, they really showed me that, they are people who care about you, and they're not just there to discipline you, which is kind of the stigma when I was coming up, that people had, was like, if you got to see the first sergeant, well, it must be really bad. But my experiences weren't negative; they were all positive experiences I had. So just paying it forward from the good things that happened to me in my career field. Now, when you talk about being a life coach, so that is funny, because it actually started with me being a resiliency training assistant. And I was doing that and teaching classes in ALS, and I just really enjoyed, talking about all these good things and all these skills that we can have to make everyday living better. And it really brought something out of me, that I would go home and I would just, like, your cup is full, and I call it, living in your gift, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, I just felt so much joy from doing that, I had looked into coaching a little bit, but never life coaching, because I always associated coaching with being a leader, and how we, mentor and we coach people to do well in their organizations and be better leaders. But I never associated it with, wellness and living a better life. So one of my friends, she had this idea that, maybe we should become life coaches. And, I was like, okay, started looking into it a little bit more. And we pitched it to our wing command chief at the time. And he said, yeah. And he took it to the wing commander and said, let's get a few people certified as life coaches. And so we could bring it back into the wing. And this was while I was at Eglin Air Force Base as a first sergeant. So we got together. She did a lot of the research as far as like finding a really good school to go to, because I don't know if you watch some of the coaching videos on YouTube, you'll see like all these big name coaching companies out there. And, like John C. Maxwell has one, and there's some other really popular ones. But we wanted to go small. We wanted to go with an organization that we knew was going to be more personable to us. And so we found a small business that really spoke to what we needed, and they came out and taught us how to be life coaches. And we went through a 6-month accreditation program and became certified. So it's been a really, really good experience and very fulfilling. And I absolutely love the things that we can do to make people's lives better. And I love seeing people learn how to think for themselves and to really look at their goals that they set and say, okay, how am I going to get to where I need to get in life? And we just coach them along the way.
That's beautiful, ma'am.
Yeah.
I really like how you said living in your gift. That really stood out to me, because I think sometimes in our work, it can be draining, or like the day to day, or it being stressful. But finding, like, in a way, like you found that was your gift, right? And in a sense, that kind of fueled you. Like, how can I then share this with other people? And
Right.
seeing you speak about it, I can see how fulfilling it's been for you, right? Like, it's filled up your cup to be able to be in a position where you're sharing this with others and helping them, like, simple, right? Because I think when we think about like success, it's like these great big things, but it doesn't have to be that, right? Like living well every day, that's the big thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, so with your life coach and your work around resiliency and soul care, that stood out to me really too, from the list that I read of your courses and your webinars. There was something in there about soul care, but in your time and doing this work, what are some of your success stories in your program?
Yeah. So I'll say with the success stories is sometimes it's just people coming to talk to you for maybe 45 minutes, and you get them to really start thinking about what they want to do, and then you never see them again. Or when you do see them again, they're like, hey, remember that conversation that we had? And you just listened to what I had to say. And, I came up with what I wanted to do in my plan. And then you just followed up with me. Yeah, I did X, Y, and Z and got it going. I had a young lady who she was really into fitness, and she just was very shy, and she used to go to the gym every day and see other bodybuilders setting up gym equipment, getting ready. They would have their cameras and then filming themselves doing workouts, and it's something she really wanted to get into. And I just listened to her talk, and at the end of it, I asked her, I said, so what is holding you back from getting going and living your dream of being a personal trainer and being successful in bodybuilding? And she was like, well, I'm just shy. Like, I don't know how to like talk to people. And that's where coaching comes into effect, because we learn how to ask what's called incisive questions, where we try to help you look for your positive opposite. So how she was saying, well, I'm really shy. Instead, we go back and we say, okay, well, what's your positive opposite of shy? It's like, oh, well, I'm really outgoing. I'm outgoing. I can talk to people, no problem. And I said, okay, so if you knew that you were outgoing and that you weren't afraid to go ask another bodybuilder for help, what would you do to live your life differently today? And that really gets people thinking as to how, how would I go and approach that? Or you can ask them questions like, if you had a friend who had the same problem, what would you say to them?
Mm.
And coaching is something I really, really love, because you just ask people questions, and you're not trying to be like a smart ass or anything. You're not trying to, demoralize them. You're really trying to get them to think about looking at things from a more positive perspective. And so with the clients that I've had in their success stories has just really been seeing them go from, okay, this is holding me back from being great. Because I always say that the only person that is holding you back from living in your gift and being successful is the person staring right back at you at the mirror every day. That's it.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
how do you get past yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
And
that's where I see the success, and just the feedback that I get from the classes that you saw in the webinar, and from people actually practicing those skills every day. Teaching mindfulness, I absolutely love it. And just simple things like, yeah, now I have a mindfulness practice that I do daily, and seeing the joy that it brings to them. That's really the reward when it comes to coaching.
definitely. And it sounds like you help your clients really like the strength or those gifts are within them, but you're just helping cultivate like that confidence, right? And you're helping them dig deep to realize like, yes, I can do this, right? And realizing that like what you said, what's really holding them back is themselves. Like that's the biggest barrier, right?
Yes.
So asking those questions that guide them to being able to realize I can do this. And ultimately, too, what comes to mind for me is like, what do I have to lose, right? Do I want to live with the what if I would have done that years down the road? Or go ahead and try it and say, hey, I wanted to do that and I gave it a shot.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what life is all about, right? Taking shots. That's why I call it take the shot coaching.
Mm.
Because I say that if you don't take the shot, you're missing out on an opportunity, because a lot of people are afraid to fail.
Mhm.
But it's those failures and how we recover from them, is really what makes us great. I fail every day at probably doing something, whether it's a task or, I did a AmJams QC for the first time the other day, and, I probably missed something on the checklist. But hey, I just dust off that, part of my brain that says AmJams, and I figure it out. But we can't be afraid to fail. It's, I'd rather be upset that, I didn't, that I did try, and I, gave it my all, versus, saying, man, I should have spoke up. I should have said something. I should have done something.
Mhm. And I think too, ma'am, in those moments where we do fail or we may feel like we failed, we learn so much about ourselves too, right? We're able to reflect on that if we allow ourselves to. And I would imagine, like with your mindfulness work, right? That can help people when they're faced in circumstances where they feel like they failed, right? Well, how do I pause, right? Before, because I think it's so easy for us as individuals to be so hard on ourselves when we feel like we failed, right? Being our what's the saying? Like
Right.
harshest critic. But I would imagine that with your mindfulness work and that practice too, being able to pause and say, okay, what am I learning from this? And how can one reflect to then have the skills to do better in the future, right? As they move forward.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I think having a daily practice, whether it's, mindfulness, journaling, practicing, being thankful for something, or just, looking at nurturing something, it's good for the soul, right? the soul care, we have to figure out how to find time to enjoy the work that we do every day, enjoy the people that are around us, enjoy the things that we love, our hobbies, our me time, because you got to fit that in, whatever your me time consists of. And then also, nurturing the causes and the people that, are a part of our lives and we're passionate about. We have to, put it all in. And some people could be really great at work, and you might give, 75% of your day to work. But don't forget, what are you doing with the other 15%? So are you going to pour it back into, your hobby, your family? You just got to figure out, what have you given today? And
yep, we're all set.
Okay, great. Let's jump back into it. So, Chief, you shared with us how you got into life coaching and also some experiences with your clients. Now we're curious to know, ma'am, what does that soul care look like specifically for you?
So it starts when I wake up. How you wake up is really how you set the tone for your day. And that matters, because if you wake up and you have a negative mindset and you're like, ugh, I'm not going to get out of bed today. Like, today is just going to be like the worst day ever. And you start thinking about all the negative things that, you're going to be looking forward to. You're going to have a day filled with a lot of negativity. And I hate to say the word negative a lot, but you'll start to notice maybe the things that are not so good. You might bump into someone in the coffee shop and they may spill coffee on you. But instead of being like, oh, I could take it home and wash it and, it's fine, you might be like, ugh, I just got coffee on my uniform now. It just sucks. I knew today was going to be bad. On the other hand, you can wake up and you can be like, yes, today is going to be a great day. It's going to be great because I am awake and I am alive and I have a car to drive. I have a good job. I have benefits. I have my family. I'm so thankful just to wake up that I'm excited for the day. And if you start that day, you get up, you jump out of bed, and, some people like to go exercise. For me, I get up, I'll do my T25, no plug intended, but I'll do, a little bit of exercise, kind of get me sweating and worked up. And then, have my coffee, have some oatmeal, and, really pay attention to what I'm putting in my body to start the day. Go shower, and then, make sure you make your bed. That's important, right? Because you want to, tell your bed you're not going back to it until later on in the evening. But, make your bed, make sure your clothes make it into your clothes basket or, the wash machine, however you do it. And just get your day going, and smile at yourself in the mirror. A lot of people don't do that. They don't take the time to be like, man, I look good today, my teeth are nice and white, like my hair is looking good, and people just don't do that. They don't know how to compliment themselves. And so, I put my uniform on, I'm like, okay, I got this, and a part of that goes into, I also get, my kids ready for school and, getting my son ready for daycare. But, just having more of okay, what can I really get excited about today that's going to make today great? I feel like if you go into the day with a joyful mindset, that no matter what happens that day, that, maybe, not so great, you're not going to focus too much on it. You're just going to be like, okay, I'm going to do that. And that, attorney or, your boss says, hey, you got to do this right now, and it's like 4:00 in the afternoon, instead of having a, I got to work on this or take care of that real quick, you might be like, okay, I'm going to knock it out. And you just go into it and you take care of it, and then say goodbye to your coworkers and go home and spend time, with your family, or, if you're single, you hang out with your friends, socialize, or, go maybe nurture one of your hobbies. And that's really what I think soul care is making sure that you are not waking up every single day, setting yourself up for having a terrible day. Set yourself up for a great day, and look at the little things, appreciate the little things that are there, maybe even, tell someone, hey, I appreciate that you, did this for me. Or if, someone brought you a cup of coffee. I mean, we kind of do that in the office here. We take turns buying coffee, especially on Tuesdays because it's double punch card day. So we get a lot of free coffee. But we try to do things that, create a really joyful environment to be in. And so I just think, have a great day by starting your day off with that mindset that I'm going to have a great day. That's how I start my day.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people get flustered by little things happening in the day. You know what I mean? Like something happens that they didn't plan, or something happens that maybe makes them feel uncomfortable, and that throws off, that throws them off. So I don't know if there's something that can be done to kind of reflect upon things that could potentially happen, because no day is ever going to be perfect, right? We're all going to have challenges. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be something that comes up that wasn't in our plan, that wasn't in our schedule. Maybe we're super, we have this gold mentality where we're planning our whole day. This is what it's going to look like. And then one little thing happens that is not part of that plan, and it's all thrown off. And then sometimes we take our frustrations on other people. But I'm not sure if you're also of the belief that perhaps reflecting upon things that, a contingency plan of sorts for our mind, that if something happens that's not part of the schedule, that challenges, is challenging, just to look at the bigger picture. Like this, in the grand scheme of things, this is not that big of a deal. We can deal with it and move on.
Yeah, that's the body's natural, like, fight or flight response, right? It's that natural, stress that we have. Everybody operates at a certain stress level, and sometimes, like you said, you'll have a challenge thrown at you, and it just like throws your game off. And I've been teaching emotional intelligence for several years now, and one of the things I love to teach about is your amygdala, and it's something that's probably about this big, right, the size of an almond, and you have two of them in your brain. But your amygdala is like your little emotional hub, and when you get that thrown off of your game, your amygdala starts firing off all these different things that, okay, now it puts you in a heightened mood. And are you going to decide to, either fight through it, or are you going to run away? And, or like you said, act frustrated, take it out on other people, throw your book down on your desk, or just scream, or whatever it is. You have to really learn how to work through the stress and understand what your stressors are, because there's stress, but then there's also your stressors. So that's two different things. And your stressors are those little things that have now thrown you off your game. So how are you going to understand, okay, what is my body's reaction to this in the moment? Is that a positive response, or is it a negative response? And if it's negative, what can you do to make it a more positive response? So if your negative response is you automatically get upset and you get angry, or you may lash out at a coworker, ask yourself, like, what do I look like from the outside looking in? What do other people see when I do that, or when I react that way? And is that good for me, for my mental well-being, for my health? And, start really looking at, how do you feel after you have reacted that way? And if it's not a good feeling, or people tell you, hey, you acted a little crazy yesterday when they talked to you and you kind of flew off the handles, And that's where you have that self-reflection and that self-awareness. And it's like, okay, how am I going to deal with the stressor that is causing me all of this stress in a more positive way? Now, there are some times where, yes, you do need to get angry, you do need to get upset, you do need to cry, but how long are you going to stay there? And that's all about you. That's a choice that you have. Are you going to allow yourself to stay in the moment for 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Maybe you need to go walk. Maybe you need to take a 30-minute break, take a time out, and then come back and really, say, okay, how do I push through this? And I hate that we have to say push through, but it is. It's how do you retrain your brain to say, okay, this happened. It's okay that it happened. Now, what am I going to do to make sure that I don't fly off the handles, I don't react or snap at someone unintentionally and, cause damage to my mental wellness to where, I may not be able to recover from that right away. It may take me some time. So you just have to really learn how to identify your stressors and then just deal with the stress, because there's not just negative stress. There's also eustress, which is that positive stress that we get where we're just like in the zone and we're operating really highly, and it's okay, but you can't always operate that way. You have to still find that downtime and take that 5-10 minute 30-minute time out and bring yourself back in. Just really draw it back in and think about how you're going to approach things with a little bit more rationality.
Yes, definitely. And I think what it keeps coming back to, ma'am, is the self, right? Like, where are we putting our energy? And really mindset, right? Like, are we going to be upset about the rot we need to assemble today and the 10 other things that are on our to-do list? And that's where our energy is going, right? And it's fostering like this negative energy. But instead, how are we going to look within and think about how can I better equip myself to handle these things, right? Because some things are going to be outside of our control. But what I heard you say, it's about how we show up within, right? How do we wake up? And really, like, I love what you said earlier about appreciating ourselves. Whether it's the, hey, you look good today, or I appreciate that I can work out, right? That I'm physically able to wake up and have a really good workout and break a sweat, right? And also being grateful about the little things. Those are all such good things that I think are underrated on how it can impact our daily life and how it can really impact our relationships with other people. Because other people can show up maybe not in the greatest of moods. And I know that for me personally, right, I talk about like, oh, I absorb other people's, like, if they're in a bad mood, I feel it right away. But how can we then be aware of that and say, well, I'm still going to show up with a lot of gratitude? And it looks like that's what you do, right, ma'am? You wake up and you have a plan and I'm going to make my bed and I'm going to make sure that, right, simple things, my clothes go in the hamper. And it's just like setting yourself up for a successful day. So it's just such great things to really apply, like not just across, right, the JAG Corps, but in our daily lives, in our relationships with our partners, our friends, our family. Very powerful. Very, very powerful.
Yeah, and you can do it at work too. Go into the job and walk around. We call it little coffee chats where you see your office superintendent or your mom walking around. Hey, how are you doing today? How was your weekend? But also do that, like you said, do that appreciation. Hey, thanks for working hard and putting that effort into that. And sometimes we do miss that. And we feel like, we have to appreciate people through things like awards or, by giving them, a letter of appreciation or something. But sometimes it's the little things like, hey, thanks for, taking that AmJams QC off my desk. Thanks for, helping to assemble that rod, and doing good. You can find appreciation every single day and in something that someone may do for you. Or just, simply giving someone a pat on the back and saying, hey, just thank you. I think it goes a long way, and it helps to keep your office dynamic in a good space, because people understand that they're just not appreciated or recognized with, those awards, those trophies and stuff that people can get once a quarter or once a year. If you give it every day, people will feel more like, hey, this is my safe space. This is my village. This is my family. And, because I learned a long time ago that it doesn't just say U.S. Air Force on your uniform. It's us Air Force, right? It's us. We're our village. We're our safe space. And what I really love about the JAG Corps is that we are so small that we all know each other. We do. We all know each other. I mean, whether you met someone at PAC or PCC or LOMC or whatever course it is, we're that small that we can make our village great. We can make it whatever we want to and take care of each other in such a really positive way, just because we really are that small.
Definitely, ma'am. These are all such great things that I hope folks that hear this, that watch this, can take with them, because it's important. It's really important, like what we cultivate in terms of our overall wellness, right? Often we think it's just physical, and it's so far beyond that, and how that can help us in our work, because this work can be stressful and it can build up. So having these tools and these skills, I think, can make such a big difference.
Yeah, and I'll add as well that, I recently went to senior NCOA, and, we got to see perspective from individuals that served in their country's military, right? So we had individuals that represented the Canadian Air Force, people that represented the German Air Force, and I think there was one more. I can't remember if it was Lithuania or one of these other places. But one thing that they noted, because there were also instructors at the Senior NCO Academy, one thing that they noted was like how stressful individuals from the U.S. military are on a daily basis about the littlest things. Like we're just stressed, and to a certain point, even distressed about EPRs or about award packages or these admin things that, if we really think about it, should we really be that stressed about those things? And I know we have deadlines and things like that, which heighten the stress, but these are not things to them, right? So it's interesting to see their perspective on that. Like, why are you guys always stressed out about the littlest things, right? It's not like you're in Ukraine right now, or under fire or getting bombed at or anything like that. Like, this is just routine things that maybe you can push the deadline a little bit, and if you push it, no one's gonna die. But it's not, these are things, and I hate to say that they're not a big deal, because we definitely want to get people recognized and set them up for success when it comes to EPRs. But are these really things that we should be stressed about?
It's funny that you do say that, and that, yes, we stress out about EPRs and awards and getting promoted and stuff. But it always goes back to asking that person that is, thinking about all these things, like, what do I do to get promoted? What do I do to, get an award or whatever? Why did you join the Air Force? Why did you raise your right hand and swear to support and defend the United States Constitution? And then go even further. Where would you be right now if you had not joined the Air Force? What would life look like for you? And sometimes it's a reality check that, if I hadn't joined the Air Force, maybe I would have become a Virginia Beach police officer. Maybe I would have served, 20 years on the force and retired as, police officer and stuff. But would I still be in Virginia Beach for 20 years? I would have never gotten to venture off to North Dakota, to South Korea, to Okinawa, Japan, gone to Afghanistan or Kuwait, or now here in Germany. I would never have those opportunities to travel around the world and, take my daughter to places like Bali in Indonesia, or Phuket in Thailand, or, Hawaii. And just, I think about all the positives that have been given, and that, you really have to think about, why did you decide one day to go to the recruiter's office and sign your name and raise your right hand? And if you hadn't done that, where would you be? I compare myself sometimes to my friends from high school who went off to college, who had full scholarships. And I'll share with you, I'm the girl who had a 1.8 GPA when I graduated high school. 1.8, that's like a D average, right? There was no colleges calling for me. There was no scholarships offered. It wasn't a thing for me to think about it. I knew community college was probably my best bet. 1.8 GPA. And by signing up, I have a master's degree. I've got certifications. Most of it's been paid for by the Air Force, and the opportunity to travel. And those are the things that I think about. I don't worry about getting promoted. I don't worry about, winning awards. I've got like a couple awards, but that's it. I wasn't Airman of the Quarter, BTZ. I didn't make Tech Sergeant my first time. Senior, I didn't even make Chief my first time. So I don't think about those things. I think about all the goodness that I have been afforded because I chose to serve. And that's the reminder that, I want people to really think about. I want you to remember why you chose to be here and where the Air Force has taken you, versus worrying about getting promoted, worrying about having to, outdo somebody in your office or outwork somebody. Those things are going to come. And I hate to have that cliche that those things will come, but yes, those things will come. When it's time to promote you, you will get promoted. When it's time for you to get that dream job, you'll get it. But you need to think about the things that you're going to take from the Air Force and how you're going to apply that when you're Mr. or Mrs. Because if you only focus on the 20 years of service or the 6 years or however long you choose to stay in, you're going to end up leaving probably a little unfulfilled. So think about, what you're going to do while you're here with our family, our Air Force family. Think about, where it's going to take you, maximize use of all the benefits that you get, and prepare yourself for when you're Mr. or Mrs. And life is now different, and you're, suiting up, or, you're going off to your, your dream job of being an entrepreneur. For me, it'll be hopefully owning a craft stand in the DX and maybe doing some coaching on the side. We'll see. But that's where I want people to have their mindset, thinking about all the whys behind it, because that should really be your drive and your focus for keeping you going every single day, not stressing over, and I got to write these bullets for my EPR, or write this 1206, or get promoted, first time every time. Took me 5 tries to make Tech Sergeant. So, it's just happened. That was the hardest rank to make, I'm telling you, 5 times, and then I finally made it. So, and I've been there. I missed it by 0.5 2 years in a row. So I've been there, and I know how it feels, but it'll come. All of those things will come.
Thank you, ma'am. That, I feel, is very valuable insight that you're providing, whether it's more so brand new airman like myself, or someone who's been in 10, 15 years. It'll come. I think that is really powerful to hear. And just really let's not stress about so many different things, right? Let's just, in the daily, what's going to be great about today, right? Because a lot of times we live so much in the future. When I get this, when I do this, what about today, right? Being grateful just about what today will bring. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for taking the time to really share with us your experiences and your life coach work. We want to encourage whoever's listening to check out your webinars, really, and see. I saw the list, and there's various different topics, from mindfulness to resiliency, that Chief McCracken offers. So really, if this is something that you're interested in, please take a look at it, reach out to her on Teams, right, ma'am? Is that the best place to get involved?
Yes. So if people are interested in joining the Take the Shot coaching team, I'll be doing some more classes. They just have to reach out to me. You can either email me or you can message me on Teams and I will add you in there. Still building it. It's a work in progress. So, but I'm trying to get some more wellness tools out there for you all to, enjoy. It's all free. So free 99 is what I say. But it's there for you to take, and if you want to do the class, or if people would like me to host a class for their office, or get a group together, I'm more than willing to do that. Even being out here in Usafi, I will make time to be there for whoever needs it, and we'll just make it work. So.
And we have a pending project, I think, Chief. Because you have a reading list as well, and you have other projects as well as far as professional development, and that's something that'll be I think it'll be coming more in the future, but not sure if you wanted to share a little bit about that side.
Right. So I have a personal reading list. It evolves every year because I love to read different books, and it's not just about leadership. A lot of leaders will talk about, hey, I have a leadership philosophy. I have more of a lifetime philosophy that involves, that growth mindset. And I think I said it best when I was 17 years old. I said, in every experience, you should find growth. And that's kind of like my motto and how I strive to live my life. So you won't hear a leadership philosophy from me, but you'll hear about things that have helped me through various stages of my life that, I hope will help someone else, and will, they'll be able to benefit from it. So I just keep expanding my list of, wellness books, or, even leadership books that I've read, TED Talks that I've watched, and I try to just put it out there. I'll keep updating it on the site as I go. I'm working on another list right now that kind of ties in with all of the coaching classes that I do. So it's just sharing things that I see. And I love when people share with me too. So some of the stuff I get because people will share it and say, hey, well, did you read this book? Or did you watch this, TED Talk or this podcast or something? And so they pour into me just as much as I pour back out. And, I really enjoy that environment of collaborating. So yes, please join the team. And I am going to leave you guys with one of the books that I've been reading that I think really helps us within the JAG Corps, because we are naturally superior high performers. And I also think we are the bomb.com and what we do, because we are the best legal professionals in the world. But this one's called, you can see it, Your Oxygen Mask First. And it really talks about not just trying to find like a work-life balance cliche, but really how you can find time to enjoy everything. You can enjoy your work, you can enjoy your hobbies, and you can also enjoy the people that you love and your family and stuff. And it's really helped me. I go back to it a lot. It's by Kevin Lawrence. And it kind of reminds me to make sure I'm doing that soul care and, not just pouring myself into, one thing, but making sure that I try to, spread it around as much as possible so that I'm not drained every day.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, ma'am. This was awesome. Very insightful topic that I do believe that most of us, not just paralegals or military members, but just human beings, these are something that will help us beyond our service. So I definitely hope that people, start to get involved and start to embrace, everything that has to do with soul care, mindfulness, and just being anything that contributes to being overall happy every single day. And I also want to thank Airman Tejeda. She's been doing an amazing job with these podcasts. The insight that she's providing and how she reflects, it's really awesome, and I know they're value added to the project that we have here. So I definitely want to thank her contributions as well.
Well, I want to thank you both. Airman Tejeda, you just asking me all the tough questions, but I can't wait to see the amazing things that you're going to do, and just keep joining on a lot of these awesome teams out there. And you're supposed to put Senior Airman on soon, so congratulations. Yep, congratulations there. And Senior Perez, I like to think I raised you a little bit, but
yes, ma'am.
So I'm always very I definitely am very proud of who you've become, and again, congratulations on your promotion as well to Senior Master Sergeant and your assignment to Kadena. Going back home is going to be awesome. So thank you both for having me on. It's nighttime here now, but thank you for having me on the podcast, and I look forward to watching it as well.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.